Alright, hello and welcome to episode 5 of Empire Total War. Right now we're fighting the Austrians. But this time I'm going to do something a little bit different. In that I won't be talking about what's actually going on in the game, because you can probably tell what's going on in the game. If you have any questions, ask me and I will probably answer them. Unless I don't know the answer, in which case I'll try and find it. But anyway. So, about line battles, because I know a lot of people who think it's an exceedingly stupid idea to walk up to somebody in a gigantic line and shoot a gun at them. It's probably because those people are the ones that play Call of Duty, in which it is a really stupid idea to walk up to somebody and shoot them with a gun. Just in front of somebody, and just exchange volleys of gunfire. But that's because they don't know how this game works. If you play Call of Duty, and you don't play this game, or if you haven't played it very much, then you probably don't know how these guns work. Okay, first of all, it usually took at least 20 or 25 seconds to reload one. Yes, it takes longer than your light machine gun. Which is one of the reasons why it's more practical to walk up to somebody and shoot them. But, also, these guns are not exceedingly accurate. I don't know the real numbers for range, but it was probably pretty hard to shoot somebody unless you had, like, someplace to rest your gun, like on a stand or something, like you had, like, a tripod to rest your gun. Without one of those, you probably couldn't shoot somebody accurately past... I don't want to get this wrong, so I'm not going to say this. I'm not going to say it, but I'm going to say that pretty much, outside of, like, probably 70 yards or something, you can't really reliably hit people with these guns. And usually they weren't, like, right next to each other. It's not like one person, like in some movies, where there's, like, one person who's, like... They're, like, one person who's, like, so, like, 15 feet away from each other? That's not how they fought. I mean, obviously, that's a terrible idea. But, the guns took, like, 20 seconds to reload, and they had a very, very short effective range. Well, range at all, really. I mean, they go really far, but you're never gonna hit anybody if you're outside of, like, 70, 50 yards. Or meters, just convert it to meters, it's almost the exact same distance. Sorry, I'm from the US, so I talk in yards and stuff. Most people watching videos probably are too, but, anyway. The thing about lines is that, one, it allows you to have more troops in a small area. Like, for example, if I have, like, 800 guys, but I put them on a loose skirmish formation, they'll be less likely to be hit, but there's also less of them to kill the enemy. And if you're talking like 10,000 people, it's not like it's really practical. I mean, yeah, you can do it, but it's more efficient if you make lines. You can fit more people in an area. But if you only have like 100 people, then yes, obviously it's a better idea to go into skirmish. Except in melee. They're far more spread out, so it's either harder to help your allies, more tiring to help your allies, or just not even possible. Because if you're spread out of like 100 yards, then it's really hard to run that distance before a battle's over, because usually, a fight between troops doesn't take very long. It takes probably only a few seconds, unless they're like, really good troops or whatever. It's probably only gonna take a few seconds. Maybe not, I don't know, but the thing is that it's more difficult, and even if you do run there in time, you're really tired by the time you get there. So that's another reason why it's helpful, because melee is a lot easier when you're in a line. There's a lot more of you together, and it's more concentrated when you're in a line. And a final reason is because of cavalry charges. If you're in a loose skirmish formation, let's say there's like only like 5 feet between two people. That's like 1 meter, more or less. So if there's like 5 feet between you two, then there's a very, very low chance that, if there's 5 feet between two people, but in the other regiment, there's like a foot in between two people. And that's 5 times as many people. No, it's not. There's a lot more people in a more concentrated area, especially if you're staked out in skirmish formation so that everybody can shoot at the same time. Means you have to have lots of space between two people for them to be all shoot. But if you're if you're like really tightly packed together, then you can fight really, really well. And when you get charged by cavalry, the cavalry can't knock down people. that easily. Like, it could probably only go through, like, one rank, if that. That's assuming the rank isn't ready for them with, like, bayonets or whatever. If the rank's ready for a cavalry charge with bayonets, the first rank will probably actually survive the cavalry charge. If not, you know, they might not. Horses cannot run over, like, 12 people. They just can't do that. Or, like, 12 people that were right next to each other. Like, how this line, even this militia unit that I'm moving up, like, that, there's no way a horse could run through all those people. Or the horse want to run through all those people. Because horses are not blindly charging into, like, spears and pikes like they do in this game. They probably would shy away from the pikes, and they might not even charge. Which is another reason why. Because there is safety in numbers. It's true. Safety in numbers is pretty big. Because the cavalry charges, if you're just in a loose skirmish formation, and obviously if you play Total War, you know this, like, the standard response to skirmishers is run them over with cavalry. Standard response to line is hit them with cavalry, and then charge them from behind with another unit. Which is a good idea. Definitely. Because it works. You can't just charge down line. That doesn't work. But you can just charge down skirmishers. Skirmishers are weak. Because one of the reasons is because they're in that formation, so you can actually run almost pretty generally, you can run through the entire like, regiment, or battalion, or company, or whatever it is that you're trying to attack. You can run through that entire thing, with just one charge. You can just go straight through it. Because there's, like, space between them for the horses to, one, regain their, like, speed, and two, they don't actually have to kill as many people, because if it's, like, the same amount of people, but they're spread out like that, they are more spread out, so each horse line can probably take, like, one line of people, because there's one person, and then, like, another few yards back, there's another person, but the horse can go a little bit faster in that time, and probably knock them, and probably keep on going over them. And skirmishing is also, like, besides the reasons that I just said, there's obviously other reasons why, fighting in a line is a good idea. Well, one is because it's more, like, opposing to your opponents. Like, if you just saw, like, a rabble of people, like, if you see a bunch of people that just have different armor, different weapons, different, everything, then really, you're not really afraid of them. As nearly as much as you would be of, like, a uniform regiment, that they all have the same stuff, they all march the same. It's a lot more frightening. It's like a morale effect. It's like seeing, like, it's like, if you knew what the Grenadiers could do, like old guard units and Grenadiers, like, you're afraid of them. Just because of their name, not because of how good they are. For all you know, they could actually be weak as, like, they could be weak and almost useless, but they could be wearing those clothes and, like, the right kind of everything, and you'd think that they were a really elite unit, because they look like that. And when you're disheartened, you don't think you're going to win, so you don't even bother, like, trying. You're just like, okay, I'm just gonna die. And that, that mood, that, like, idea is a lot, it's really demoralizing, and you don't fight as well when you're really demoralized, because you're like, well, it doesn't really matter what I do, because I'm gonna die anyway. But if it's some, like, rabble, then yes, the rabble could be really, really, really well trained, but the people think that they're going to crush them. So they fight really, really hard. I mean, sure, once they figure out that they're not going to crush them, they start getting even more, or not even more, but they start getting to the same point of, well, there's no way I'm gonna win this, or what the heck is going on. It's not really, there's no way I'm gonna win this, it's just, like, confusion. And most people, or not most people, but some people will just be like, oh, well, it must just be a fluke. They just scatter them because they got lucky. And then they'll keep on fighting just as hard. But, you know, not if they, but if you think you're going to lose, you don't try nearly as hard. If you think you're gonna win, then you try really hard, unless you're, like, so sure you're going to win that you just don't even bother. But that rarely happens, and probably if that happened in a regiment at this time period, people would be, like, kicked out, maybe, like, hanged or something. I don't know. It would not be good. People, another thing that I know some people think is a stupid idea is wearing bright colors and carrying these gigantic flags, and, all sorts of things like that. Well, one of the reasons for the uniforms and stuff is because in the smoke, You need to be able to tell who's your friend and who's not. Or in, like, woods or whatever. You need to be able to tell who is on your team, so you don't shoot the wrong person. Because if there's a gigantic cloud of smoke, and you see somebody wearing black, and then your team is also wearing black, you're like, well, I don't know who that is. He could walk up to you and be like, wait, I don't know you, or I don't recognize you, or everybody from my regiment is dead, so obviously you're not a friend. Or something like that. And so then he just goes up and, kills, or he attacks you. Or you might accidentally think, oh, he's not wearing my color, he's probably not on my team. Or in my army, or whatever it is. So then you shoot him, but then he's like, ah, I'm on your team. That's not good. So, but when two factions are wearing, like, they're wearing gray, white, which admittedly probably isn't a very good color, and my people are wearing blue, that's a pretty big distinction. You see somebody wearing dark color versus light color, you're like, light color, enemy, dark color, us. So you know who to shoot and who not to shoot. In a game like this, it doesn't really matter. But, if you get lots of volleys off, like, if you do fire by rank in this game, for, like, 4 or 5 ranks, I'm pretty sure that's as far as it goes. If you do that, you can actually see, it gets pretty smoke-filled, and in Napoleon, it's like the real smoke clouds. It's like probably what it would look like on the battlefield. Maybe not quite as bad, because that would lag the computer too badly. But, it's a lot more realistic in Napoleon. The thing is, it's hard to see. The flags, they just kind of help you to tell whose team they are from far away, because you might not be able to see the color too distinctly from far away, but you can see the big flag, and the Prussian flag and the Austrian flag are pretty easily distinguishable. Most flags are, except for flags like French and oh, I forgot who else it is that has a flag like the French flag. I don't remember, but, like, there's some flags that look kind of close together, but most of them are pretty different. Like, you know, Prussia's, Germany's, Belgium's, pretty much most countries have pretty distinguishable flags. US, you recognize, most people would recognize that. Almost everybody would recognize that. You recognize, you know, pretty much most flags. So you know who they are, because the flags are pretty big. They're not just, like, tiny, like, handheld, like, one-hand flags. They're, like, big banners. And I mean, sometimes they have, like, spikes on them, you could actually use them as weapons. So, that's one of the things. And then, something other people get is, why, captains and commanders are so dang important. Like, don't you know what to do anyway? I know this one isn't nearly as common, I'm just going for material now. Because, you really don't know who should be in charge. If all the officers are dead, you don't know who should be in charge. You're like, well, what do we do now? We're losing. Or, because usually when your general or whatever gets killed, you're like, oh, we're losing now. What do we do? You look at your officers for orders or somebody, but you don't take orders from just random people. You could, but you don't, because it's not going to work nearly as well. Because some people are going to be shouting something, some other people are going to be shouting other things. It's just chaos, really. And chaos never wins battles. So you really have to rely on the officers, because you're like, oh, I see him, I know, let's follow his orders. If the general dies, you're like, oh, let's go follow somebody else's orders. But if you're like, officer dies for your regiment, oh, well, let's go join with somebody else. But if all the officers are dead, well, really, if your officer dies, it's actually pretty devastating, because you don't know where to join. And you have to, like, make a decision among the, remaining people, assuming you're still alive after, but that's not really the point. So, that's one of the reasons why officers are so important. I used to think the same thing, and then when I was playing, in a regiment in the old Mountain Musket mod, which nobody really plays anymore, for a Medieval 2 total, or Mountain Blade Warband, I was thinking, because our officer got killed, I'm like, well, what do we do now? Because nobody was really an officer rank, so we're just like, charge. I mean, yes, you could do that in a real battlefield, but it doesn't actually work very well. I mean, charging, discipline almost always wins, unless it's a gigantic, unless it's just this massive, like, cloud of just troops, like, million guys. Yeah, it doesn't matter how disciplined you are, if you're like 100,000, you're probably not going to beat all million of them. But you could. I mean, if it's like 100,000, or let's just say 100 highly disciplined troops versus 100 rabble, the highly disciplined troops are probably going to win. Not definitely, but probably. And they're probably going to take fewer casualties, because they're not running around in confusion, and it'll be coordinated if they do charge. It's like, zone they charge, it'll be coordinated. And if you don't do things at the same time, it's nowhere near as effective, because there's strength in numbers. Like I've said, probably multiple times during this video. Numbers are very important. So, tell me what you think of what I just said. If anything's wrong, I'll correct it in the next video or whatever. But I'm pretty sure most of that's right, except for some of the numbers, like ranges and whatnot. So, yep, that's pretty much all of it. We took, or no, we didn't take it, we just repelled that one Austrian force. And we begin to fight others. So, anyway, pretty much that battle went really well. And we're getting into a pretty good position to take, Austria's next city, which is, a pretty big one, so we should make a good deal of money from it and be able to recruit some real troops. I don't really want to be researching carbines, because, carbines, anyway, I don't really want to be researching that, because, I'm not going to be using dragoons or anything, really. I mean, maybe, but probably not. So thanks for watching, and goodbye.